Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. This is part of the FNM series, just started up at Scholars Games. That is a legacy FNM every week for a Force of Will for the champion. And the winner of this match will go on to be champion. I am playing against Rich Shay, one of my best opponents for many, many years. Been playing Rich for over a decade, and we almost always have memorable matches. Most of our matches were in Vintage, but Legacy is where we both find ourselves playing more often now. And both of us have certainly adapted to the new banned restricted announcement, the banning of Gitaxian Probe and Deathrite Shaman. Definitely made a massive impact in the format. I was on Storm. That list needed to morph a little bit, whereas Rich is on Rug. He is the higher seed here in the top 8, leading out with Delver, exactly where Rug wants to be. A Delver, probably the best threat to employ in this matchup. Nimble Mongoose is another 1-drop the deck is capable of leveraging, and Wasteland taking care of that first mana source. The Stifle being revealed, and that means it's going to be even harder to win with the Storm spell. Of course, Stifle can be used for mana denial or to stop that ultimate finisher, either Tendrils of Agony or Empty the Warrens. The list I'm running is on 2 Tendrils, main deck, and a slew of empties in the sideboard. That'll all get hashed out in the coming weeks if I stay on Storm. And there's a new addition to the main deck there in Chrome Mox. I feel like it is a strong card post board to be able to get rid of excess answers, which the deck does bring in an awful lot of cards like Chain of Vapor, Echoing Truth, Fatal Push, and it is nice to be able to get those out of your hand when the coast is clear. Rich sacking Scalding Tarn has all the colors he needs: red, green, and blue, and plenty of it. Brainstorm, that fetch land shuffling away the bad cards from Ponder, indicating he likely has Force of Will, card that was strong enough to keep, but a series of cards that's so bad that you definitely want to shuffle before Brainstorm. Imprinting Tendrils on Chrome Mox into a Thoughtseize. Let's see what we've got here. Force, Stifle, Stifle, Bolt, and Ponder. That is a train wreck hand. Taking the Force and going to need to play around a couple of Stifles. Ponder and Lightning Bolt means this is a 1-turn window to get past 2 Stifles. Definitely missing Cabal therapy now. But Rich ponders and sees a Force of Will. What a savage he is. 3 damage. This has got to be the turn. Going to have to get past a Force of Will and double Stifle. At the very least, it's going to need to involve a Duress of some sort, or getting Rich to counter a spell that does not need to be countered. Starting out with a Brainstorm. Rich lets it go. I've not played a land yet. Very bad spot here. Rich he stifles, he does. Fields are down except for that Force of Will. No land drop for turn here. Eating out with a Dark Ritual. Maybe we can Dark Ritual happens. That gets forced. That should do it. Probably would have been better to lead with the LED. I don't think there was any line there. There was no line there that would have led to victory. But leading with the LED would have at least put Rich a little bit to the test, which is what you want to be doing as a Storm player. You want your opponent to be making difficult decisions and second-guessing themselves, thinking about all the possible lines in different ways that they can lose. And there, Rich easily taking that down on the back of Force of Will and Stifle. So a couple of forces there. Too much to get past. It is worth noting how strong Gitaxian Probe was in Storm. It was free Storm, added Threshold, gave you better information, and of course set up Cabal Therapy, which was a very powerful discard spell. As we saw there, Rich had a couple of Stifles. That's exactly the type of card that Cabal Therapy punished so badly. Those reactive cards that you just kind of sit on and wait for the perfect moment. Cabal Therapy would make sure that perfect moment never came, strip those resources away from your hand. Same with cards like Red Elemental Blast. They have a tendency to potentially clog up in your hand, and Cabal Therapy could just clear out 2 or even 3 copies of a card, all for just 1 black mana. So that card will definitely be missed as well, but very unlikely that Therapy will end up being the final cut with any of these lists. Thoughtseize is definitely going to hit something. If there's a card to hit, the 2-life, is not without consequence in this deck. You do run Ad Nauseam, and there is, not only using your life as a resource, but also is just a flotation device to drag the game out, just absorbing those hits from your opponent. Against a deck that runs Burn, like Rug, taking an extra 2 or 4 damage is almost like giving them an extra card. Certainly, Thoughtseizing a Lightning Bolt is not a very good value. Empty the Warrens in hand. Starting out with Ponder. The Warrens potentially very good against Rich. I believe said earlier in the event that he had no sweepers currently in his board. Rough Tumble is a card that Rug has run in the past that really plays well with all of their creatures. Of course, Delver typically is flipping and has flying at that point. Nimble Mongoose is too big most of the time for it as well, so situationally every one of the creatures can avoid dying to that custom Pyroclasm. And Rich here, no early beater. A Brainstorm in response to Rich's Brainstorm, playing down around Pyroblast or Red Elemental Blast. Also giving the ability to fetch without getting blown out by Stifle here. Brainstorm's going to resolve. You see there, Pyroblast. Very situational counter. Now that all of these cantrips actually require mana, it's certainly a little bit more attractive. The Warrens may be going away here. Leading out with a Dark Ritual. Into Thoughtseize, so 2 black mana floating. Oh, what a disaster hand. Pyroblast, Double Daze, Surgical. Ooh, now that Empty the Warrens is on top of the deck right now, so that's not great. Could have potentially left it in hand and played around some of these more suboptimal lines or hands. This is problematic. Now Surgical. Oh, I see here. All right, so this is actually pretty complicated. What the line that was taken was putting the Empty the Warrens on top of the deck, Lion's Eye Diamond to be played, and then using some cantrips to draw into the Empty the Warrens, building a storm count. But ultimately, Surgical Extraction is going to be able to stop that. So Surgical is actually a big problem card here. Red Blast is also a problem. So ideally what we want to be able to do is play some cantrips and then crack the LED in response to the one that's going to draw into Empty. But Surgical can break that up at any time. It looks like just fetching away the Empty and kind of looking to play around this hand now. Just not going to be able to move all in on an LED play. Jam Preordain. Still 2 black floating. That's Surgical, a real problem. LED. So top, bottom. Looks like it's just going to be going for it here. Double LED, Storm is 5. 2 blacks still floating. And Rich contemplating this second LED. Really putting him to the test here. The shuffled library. And he's gonna daze, building Storm. So he's trying to attack the mana base here, but there's 2 LEDs. Sorry, the mana pool, I should say. But really adding quite a bit of Storm. So the Storm is 7. And the way is clear. There's no more interaction on Rich's side of the table. So cracking LEDs. 3 black, 3 red. Storm is 7. And this is an all-in play here. 6 mana floating, Empty the Warrens on top, and Infernal Tutor. Either one of those will do. Infernal's slightly better. And that's actually going to be lethal Storm then. For Tendrils. So Empty the Warrens would have created a massive Goblins, but the Storm count actually allowed for the Tendrils to be lethal there. So an all-in Ponder with double Lion's Eye Diamond. Rich really forcing me into a very risky line with another extremely defensive hand there, having multiple counters. 3 counters in that hand plus a Surgical. And that Surgical really, oddly enough, making it very difficult to play around. Not the typical use of Surgical Extraction, to shuffle your, mostly just to shuffle your opponent's library. You got to give him credit for making that play, just moving all in off of a cantrip there. I gotta feel like he would actually surgical in response to get rid of the top card of the library. Rich, a very strong player. Against a weaker player, I may have just taken the line. And even if they do catch it, you still have the ability to just luck sack into it. The difference is if I didn't cantrip first before setting that all up, I would have had exact mana. So seeing a card like Infernal Tutor would no longer have been lethal. Basically, I would have needed empty the Warrens and exactly empty the Warrens. So that significantly increased my outs. All right, so really hanging on by our fingernails in game 2, forcing a game 3, this time on the draw. Rich able to lead out. Good news that it is not a early creature here, so we're going to have some extra time. Every additional turn that there's no creature on board is kind of a gift to Storm, allowing their life total to stay high and the game to drag on. The longer that Storm is able to sculpt their hand, the better off they're going to be. Of course, you don't want to give Rug all day to sculpt their hand either. But discard does really make it difficult for a control deck to hold the fort down. Now there's Duress and Thoughtseize, as well as a bunch of must counters. And there's the Wasteland. The build of Storm here that I'm working with, I'm running 2 basic islands and a basic swamp, so we don't have to make Wasteland an issue. Sometimes the cards dictate that that's the course you have to take, but very often you're able to get out your 3 basics and then get your red source when you need it off of either an additional fetch land or just your Lotus Petal or even Lion's Eye Diamond. You generally only need a splash of red that's going to be to cast and empty the Warrens, or in order to cast your Past in Flames. Occasionally you might need to cast Past in Flames, have it be countered, and then flash it back in the same turn. But really not very red hungry. And Rich's hand, kind of underwhelming here. We got Flusterstorm, Surgical's back, Lightning Bolt, Stifle, and Nimble Mongoose. No green mana yet, so that Nimble Mongoose and Sylvan Library, not exactly threatening at the moment, but that can change very quickly with any fetch land or the Tropical Island. And Flusterstorm hits the bin, leaving Stifle. Stifle the easiest counter to play around. Doesn't really interact with any of the sculpting and cantrips. And we got 2 mana Cabal Ritual. We may see some fireworks here while the shields are down. Lotus Petal. And Thoughtseize coming in. 2 black floating still. And Daze on Thoughtseize. So that's going to build Storm. Still 2 black floating. And some feel bads here. There's a Cabal Ritual in response to the Daze. The Ritual resolves, 3 black happens, 1 pays for Daze. Thoughtseize on the stack. see what Rich does here. Stifle, Surgical. Of course, Stifle's gonna go. Still 2 black. This Cabal Ritual comes in. Storm 6. Plenty of black mana now. Rich could Surgical. Oh, and he does. And that's very bad news. So he sees that I'm still going to have the 3 black mana necessary to get the job done here. So Surgical does stop. Infernal Tutor. Actually, no, it doesn't. The Empty the Warrens was stopping the Tutor. It's really just adding Storm and losing 2 life. That Infernal was not going to get the job done. So Empty the Warrens had to be the plan no matter what. And there is 16 goblins and Rich at just 18 life. This is a 2-turn clock, but it's a bit more inevitable than that. And that's it. Brainstorm shows nothing. And Storm taking it down to go on to win the first Scholars Legacy F&M. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.